Greetings, esteemed viewers. Step into the realm of business excellence with us on Elevate Your Business, where we unravel the secrets to success and share the strategies that lead to triumph. I'm your host, Ed Jarecki, and I'm thrilled to have you here today. In this program, our goal is to educate and empower business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs such as yourself by offering valuable insights and guidance from accomplished individuals who have walked a similar path in the world of business. So today, I'm thrilled to introduce a remarkable guest on our podcast, Kam Bradley. Kam is an experienced serial entrepreneur in real estate, construction, and most currently in the restaurant industry. As Kam joins us on the show, she'll shed light on what success means to her personally and how her definition has evolved over time, as well as one or two of her top challenges and the lessons learned associated with them. And finally, for today, we'll explore how Kam has leveraged innovation in her business to work through challenges and achieve her goals. So join me in welcoming Kam Bradley as we embark on another incredible episode of Elevate Your Business. And without further ado, Kam, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
My honor, my pleasure. So to start with, could you share a little bit more about yourself and your business?
Yeah. So I live in my hometown, born and raised. I'm 48 years old, so that's quite a long time. I'm really fortunate to actually have stayed here because I know that the things that I have accomplished directly go back and benefit my community. I was raised very modest, humble family, 4 kids. My mom stayed at home and my dad worked. So we had a very modest lifestyle. And I decided at a really young age that although I knew my upbringing was amazing, that I wanted to do a little bit more. I wanted to go a different direction. So I did those things. I spent a couple of years in college and got a criminal justice degree, which I don't use at all, but it's still fun to say. But everything that I have done, I'm really proud to say I've got to infuse right back into my hometown, into my community to help build people up, create jobs and other people's successes. So like you've said, I've done everything from construction. I owned a large drywall company for 23 years now. I employ anywhere from 60 to 100 people at any time. We do amazing projects and it's very, very amazing company. And having that and its success has allowed me to do other things like flip houses before that was even a term or a show. Didn't know it's funny that we were doing it and we didn't know, that it would eventually have a name. That led into being a real estate agent, and I found a great amount of success there as well. I owned one of the only independent trampoline parks in our country. We opened that in the June of 2011, and that was due to the recession. So there's fun stories there. And then I've kept my real estate license now for 19 years. I've done a little bit of everything. I do a lot of networking, and my newest project, which today we get electrical inspection, is a restaurant, and it's called 1933 Bar Plus Kitchen, and it's based off my personal cookbook. I'm not a chef, probably don't chop an onion right, but I've heard that I have pretty good recipes and I make people happy. So I took another hometown opportunity and took that cookbook, and I'm hiring a chef, and we're going to infuse that right back into our community as well.
Outstanding. And so you mentioned that term success and what you just shared. How do you define success today?
Today, it's a lot different than, when I was 12 years old and I started a babysitting circle, and I vetted families, and I hooked my girlfriends up, and they went and babysat, and my parents helped drive, and I took a cut of that. I babysat too, but it goes all the way back to 12. Like, I knew that I wanted to create something. So of course back then, you're 12-year-old little girl, and success definitely is who gets to go to Disneyland, who has the Cabbage Patch Kid dog, during what, all those kind of things. And I don't think I'm alone in thinking that way for a big part of your youth, all the way maybe into your 20s. I think success is looked at as, financial stability and checking boxes and meeting goals. I do believe that still is a big part of it, although it has evolved so much over the years because of what I've been able to create and the people I've got to meet. And I just know that checking the boxes and having the financial stability and creating time freedom, those are fundamentals of success. But really, truly experiencing success is being a part of somebody else's success. Taking the people you meet and really getting to know them, and then you meet someone else a few days or weeks or years later, and you get to marry that situation, whether it's a person with a company or a person with a person or an idea with any of those things. I have goosebumps thinking about that, like what you can accomplish if you actually listen to people and what they have to offer. You can marry so many situations, and then sitting back and watching those things happen, to me now, that's where I'm at. That's success. That's being a part of, in the smallest way ever. Doesn't mean it doesn't matter if you're a mentor or if you taught someone a lesson, good or bad, or if you were the student of that situation. Anything you can do to help someone get to what their idea of success is, being a part of that to me, that's where I've gotten. That's where I am now. That's what success is.
Love that definition. And so when you think about that journey and the changes that occurred in that definition of success, guessing that there's been a challenge or two along the way, what are one or two that kind of you can call to mind and the lessons learned associated with them?
You know, we're gonna start with finances, just like that's the general idea of what success is, usually is finances. And I take responsibility for being a young person and naive and not worldly enough to realize that that wasn't the exact. But guess what? You have to have money to make money. That is a truth. And so, coming from a very humble background, finding financial resources and credibility and getting someone to bet on you, that's a big thing to overcome and accomplish. But as long as you have your thoughts together and you really know what you want, people see authenticity, and those possibilities are still out there. I'm going to honestly say, probably when I was in my early 20s, it was easier to get someone to bet on you then than it is now. I think our youth coming up are going to be up against different kinds of rules, regulations, obstacles to finance their dreams or their ideas. But it still is, it still is an option. So I'm going to definitely start with finances. That is huge. And then people. You are never, ever going to have success avoiding people. It doesn't matter who you are. It's just not going to happen. So, when I think about my kids in school and people wanting to change seats in classes, I mean, I can't remember that because I don't think it was an option then. We just were stuck. But I can remember with my kids, and they wanted to be in different seats, or somebody wanted to be by them, or the teacher wanted them to be by somebody, to set an example. And I believe this truly is, if you go to work at Boeing, you don't get to pick who you sit next to in your cubicle or who's next to you on an assembly line. So really being able to, maybe you don't have to understand everybody, but you have to respect everybody. And so I think coming to that conclusion and figuring out that you don't have to agree with everybody, but you have to show respect, I would say that's probably the number one thing I could say to anybody about being successful in business, is that if you think you're right and someone's wrong, it ends there. It ends there. You cannot have that approach. You absolutely have to be open-minded. And again, you don't have to agree, but you have to acknowledge and respect.
So if I was to summarize that down, it's respect everyone and surround yourself with great people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you get to choose those people, heck yes. Don't always get to, and you will, no matter what. I don't care if you're Bill Gates, you're still going to have to come up against somebody that you don't agree with, whether it's morally, socially, economically, it doesn't matter. But you still have to show respect, acknowledge, and then use that to the best advantage you can in whatever situation you're facing.
To that point, about a week and a half ago, I finished a course called Positive Intelligence. And there were a couple of mechanisms in there. And one thing kind of sparks, my memory based on what you just said. And that there's some traditional rules associated with brainstorming as one technique to generate ideas, right? And one of the rules is, of course, respect everybody's idea. But what this positive intelligence course did is add one component to build off of each other, brainstorm, respect each other, don't be negative against anybody's ideas. And of course, that's easier said than done for a lot of people. They like to go right to the negative and say why it won't work. But what the positive intelligence focused on was every idea has a kernel of positive to it. So, in order to drive that relationship forward in the best way possible, focus on the kernel of what is good about it and build on that. Do not reject out of hand what people are trying to put on the table as an idea.
Oh, absolutely. Because no matter what, if you give them that credit for even that kernel, that little piece, you're going to gain their respect, and it changes the entire atmosphere of the situation, no matter where you are. Years ago, so I think I'd mentioned to you before this that I had started flipping houses before that was a term by accident. I bought a piece of property and I wanted to build something there, and a city or municipality would tell me no. And so I'd fix it up and sell it. And all of a sudden realized that I was making a whole bunch of money doing that, and that the drywall company allowed us that cash flow to do that. So that was, a really good discovery that we had. But after I began flipping houses, there was a huge company that came out on one of the, TV shows, live TV or something, and they had a seminar. So I wanted to go. I wanted to see what these people had only been doing it for a few years, what they had to offer. And it was really interesting since I had been doing it for so long and in such a different way. Clearly they weren't flipping houses anymore. They were creating income from teaching about how to do it. But they had a speaker. His name is Andy Tanner. So I think he's a big part of the Poor Dad, Rich Dad kind of community, but he did an entire segment on persuasive speaking. And it's not trickery, but you can lead someone with something they've already figured out into more positive. And it actually works with the negative people in the room too. So if you got a handful of people in a room, you've got one idea, they don't like it. The words you can use, like, wouldn't you agree that if we did this, like, and it's amazing that if people just hear a few positive introduction words, how they will actually open their brains up to what the idea is,
Right.
because we're closed-minded. So I can tell you that my kids caught on to that though. And when it started working really well, they would be like, Mom, stop Andy Tannering me. We know what's going on, because it worked. And if you go into a situation and you use the right verbiage with a group of people who might not see eye to eye, you can change the entire dynamic of the room.
Absolutely. Agreed. So when you consider innovation through your business endeavors and where you're at today, how have you or do you leverage innovation to drive your businesses forward?
So I'm going to be flat out honest about this. I'm super not that person. I'm not tech savvy. I mean, I do pretty well at the old people, Facebook, that's what you do, right? But when I started my trampoline business, that was the platform, was Facebook. So I was very familiar with that. I need to push towards Instagram. I need to push towards, well, I mean, maybe not TikTok. I don't know. I've never done
Yeah.
that, but that might be going away. But I can tell you that I think I'm just stuck with humanity. I think that I am just a people person, and I know that. And so I surround myself with people who are innovative and who know about technology and who keep on top of what's coming. And I rely on them, heavily to keep me in that loop. And I'll say this all day long, any day, is that, knowing your weaknesses, that's your biggest strength, or knowing it just is. And what I know is that if I spend too much time keeping up on what's happening with innovations, then I'm not doing what I'm good at, which is talking to people, like opening my mouth, making those connections.
But that's a
So I other people.
Yeah, but that's a solid strategy in recognizing that it exists and surrounding yourself, like we talked about a little earlier, with the right people to help you make sure that you're doing things. So, from a restaurant perspective, whatever your point of sale system is one of those key pieces of technology, and how it integrates to your bank and your entire e-commerce activities. And of course, there's other things that you can start to integrate into that as well. But I think your strategy and approach is incredibly solid. What about the future? Do you see anything out there going on that you say is, yeah, I'm planning to use this?
Even though I say that I'm not innovative, I do, my brain does work a certain way. So like you were talking about my POS system, like, you have to have all these things for a restaurant, whether you can order online or if you're going to have Grubhub or whatever. And I can tell you
Mhm.
that I'm not going to have those things because since my restaurant's based off my personal homemade cookbook, I don't want consistency and quality. And that's not up for compromise with me, which putting it into the hands of someone that I don't have a working relationship with, that's just not my wheelhouse. Also, I believe in exclusivity. So if you really want that bad, you're going to figure out how to get there and have it. There's still some old fashioned ways in this world, and I believe in them, to a certain extent. Also, I did go to, and I probably can't say their name, but my POS system, and they're huge. I think they're probably the number one restaurant supplier in the nation. And I had them add an extra button for me. And I should have learned my lesson when I had my trampoline park because I had a lot of amazing concepts and ideas kind of swept away because I didn't think for a second I needed to patent anything. Like I just didn't give myself that much credit. So you guys don't not do that. So when you have an idea, make sure it's yours. But I did create a button, and I'm going to say this because it doesn't matter. Here's your freebie for the day. I created a button so you can sit at your desk wherever you're at and you can order your lunch or dinner or whatever it is from my restaurant. And by the time you arrive, it's going to be ready and you get to dine in. And I feel like that social experience, besides picking it up and taking it back to your office desk or having Grubhub deliver it or whatever, getting yourself out of your office, mental clarity for even a part of the time. I get to save someone 10 minutes or 15 minutes of their hour lunch. I know what injecting that time into their everyday life means. So I guess I'm not innovative enough to make the button to push, but I had the idea.
And well, that's where it starts. And there are technologists out there that can make that happen for you, or administrators for your systems or whatever. But yeah, that is absolutely innovative. Love that idea. So
A
in
small.
Paul, actually, when you shared a little bit about what's growing up around you, those are massive businesses out there. That sets you up for amazing success. So I actually applaud you for the idea and the implementation of it. I'm anxious to follow up down the road and find out how it's working for you.
If I can make those Amazon and Tesla people happy, right?
Exactly, exactly. So if there was one takeaway to offer our audience that they must consider as part of their business journey, what would that be?
You know, again, when you start, it's about checking boxes. We have an idea of what success looks like. Typically, it's again financial freedom, time. I mean, and if time freedom is not on your list of boxes to check, then you need to make a new list because we don't do this for no reason. We do what we do to, yes, economically, but we do it so that we can create a life we don't have to escape from, right? That's such a cliche. What's crazy about when you create time for yourself, then you start looking around and all of a sudden, I mean, it could be another business venture, it could be this, but for me, the cherry on top, when I created time because of the financial success, I found charity. I found Rotary. I found the food bank. I found all these different outlets that I realized that because of how many people I had met and talked to, that I could put together this amazing network and I could, inject again so much time and value into all these organizations. So, like right now, I'm president-elect for Marysville Rotary. I went to Guatemala last year for 10 days. We built two schools, did 30
Wow.
fresh drinking stations. We installed 30 stoves in the huts. And when I'm telling you, it's dirt floor huts. I have goosebumps right now thinking about it. We gave away glasses because mostly the women, they lose their vision super fast because of the soot that's inside of their huts. Yes,
Wow.
took my 16-year-old son with me. He was like the man of the hour. The kids would just hang on him. It literally, hands down, besides having my own children, was the most influential experience of my life. And I got to do that because I created time. Time
Outstanding.
allowed me to find an avenue. So
I,
success equals time equals you feel good about yourself at the end of the day. I mean, it's always nice that the financial security, but I'm telling you, there's so much more out there that networking and business can provide that we just don't think about traditionally, that I encourage everybody to tap into.
Well, I love that thought, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. We don't do just this just for the financial success. We do this to live a successful life, and the journey is part of that. And so if we're not making that time along the journey and we're waiting for that big milestone to pop and then success, we're going to live a very challenging life.
Might be sadly disappointed. Yeah, I agree.
I want to thank you all for joining us today, and a special thank you to our incredible guest, Kam Bradley, for sharing her insights, experiences, and best success tactics with us. We hope this discussion has ignited your enthusiasm and equipped you with the resilience, innovation, and adaptability needed to tackle the entrepreneurial world head on. Success is multifaceted, and it's crucial to carve out your own definition of it. But let Kam's insight guide you as you journey through the entrepreneurial landscape, embracing change, seizing growth opportunities, and remaining flexible in the face of the ever-changing business environment. Thank you once again to our phenomenal guest speaker, Kam Bradley, and thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue exploring the stories behind exceptional entrepreneurs. Stay resilient and stay innovative, everybody.
Bye-bye.